Okay, this video is more about parabolas. This time, the parabolas are not given to you in vertex form. So all the things are still the same. We just need to adjust it. Now, when we were doing this notes in class, we realized that it was a little bit too time consuming to do all the graphs again. So we're just going to stick with getting it in vertex form and figuring out how it opens and the vertex. And then most of you seem to be okay going from there. But if you miss class, make sure that you watch the other video before you watch this one. All right, for completing the square, so we have y equals, and we're going to complete the square very similar to what we did with the circles. We're going to group our x's, so we have x squared plus 16x plus blank. But unlike the circles, where we move the things without a variable to their side, we're going to keep that 71 on the same side and then write another blank. Okay, we know how to complete the square and fill in the numbers. So half of 16 is 8, 8 squared is 64. Now with the circles, we're adding numbers to different sides of the equation. So since they're on different sides, we're going to add the exact same thing so it stayed balanced. But now we've got it on the same side. And if I had another positive 64, I'm adding 128. And that's way too much to add to one side. It's going to be lopsided. So to keep it balanced, I'm going to add negative 64. And yeah, they do cancel out. They're supposed to, but we're going to group them in a new way so that we can use them. Because if they cancel out, we're right back to where we started. So we want to group them in a new way. So I'm going to write my equation. I'm going to write y equals, and then I'm going to factor this part right here. And that factors to x plus 8 squared. And we've done a lot of those. Half of 16 is 8. And then we're going to add these two numbers here. And when I add those two numbers together there, I'm going to get plus 7. Whoops. I'll change color. I mean, have that red. Plus 7. Okay, so now we've got our equation. And these you will have to graph on the quiz or test, but there's not going to be a ton of them. And they should fit reasonably on the graph. So if you get plus 250, that's not reasonable. Something's wrong. Start again. Okay, this one's y equals a positive, so it's going to open up. Now, because there's an x in the parentheses, I know that's going to control the x, so it's going to be negative 8. That's going to control my y, so that's 7. And I'm done. All right, let's try this again on the second one. On the second one, I'm going to still complete the square, but when I complete the square, I need an invisible positive 1, and I do not have an invisible positive 1 there. So I'm going to factor it out. So I'm going to take out the 2, and that leaves me with x squared. 36 divided by 2 is 18, plus blank, plus 170, plus blank. And now I'm going to fill in the blank. Half of 18 is 9. 9 squared is 81. Now, if you remember when we did this earlier, this was really a trick because if it's in parentheses, it looks like we added 81, but we didn't. We really added 2 times 81, which is 162. So we added 162 to the left. So to balance out, I have to subtract 162 or negative 162 on the right. So now when I go to write my vertex form, I've got the y equals, excuse my cat, then I've got the 2, and then in the parentheses, I'm going to factor this, and that's going to factor to x plus 9 squared. So I factor that part. And now I need to add the numbers at the end, and 170 and negative 162 would give me 8. It's y equals a positive, so I know it's going to be opening up. There's an x in the parentheses, that's going to control my x, so it's going to be negative 9, and that's my y at the end. All right, now this one starts with an x, and even though it is different because it starts with an x, it's the exact same thing. You're not changing anything. You're just writing different variables. So I'm going to group my y's and then group the numbers. Okay. I didn't need to factor anything out because the leading coefficient was the invisible positive 1. Half of 12 is 6. 6 squared is 36. It's not in the parentheses, so I really did add 36. So I'm going to put the opposite over here, which is negative 36. So in vertex form, I'm going to get y equals, I'm going to factor this part right here. So that's going to give me y minus 6 squared plus, and then over here, I'm going to add the two numbers. 41 and negative 36 gives me 5. Oops, and I put y equals, and it should be x. I apologize. So my equation is x equals, and if it's x equals a positive, then I know it's going to open to the right. Now this time in the parentheses, it's a y, so that's going to control the y of my vertex. So it's positive 6. That means the 5 has to be the x. Okay, this one over here, I cannot complete the square until I get it to be an invisible positive 1. So I'm going to factor out that 3, but when you factor something out, you factor it out only from the first two terms, nothing else. So I take out the 3, leaving me with y squared. Negative 24 divided by 3 is negative 8. Y plus blank plus 41 plus blank. All right, let's fill in the blanks. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. But remember, it's a trick. It looks like I added 16, but I didn't. I really added 3 times 16, which is 48. So I put 48 on the left. So to keep it balanced, I have to put negative 48 on the right. So now when I write my equation in vertex form, I have y equals. First, I'm going to write my 3. Now I'm going to write this factored part. Two numbers that multiply to 16 add to negative 8 would be negative 4. Negative 4, so I have y minus 4 squared plus, and then I'm going to add these numbers together here, and I get negative 7. So that's that part, and that's that part. Okay, on this one, I have, oh my gosh, I did it again. I need to pay more attention. This is x equals. Again, I've got x equals a positive, so it's still going to be opening to the right. And my vertex, because there's a y in the parentheses, that's controlling my y of my vertex, so that's positive 4. And this one is negative 7. Okay, let's try it again on number 5. On number 5, geez, okay. On number 5, we still can't complete the square because we don't have the invisible positive 1. So instead of factoring out a number, I'm going to factor out negative. If it makes you feel better, you can just take out a negative 1. So negative x squared divided by negative 1 is x squared. Negative 14 divided by negative 1 is 14x plus blank, close parentheses, minus 55 plus blank. Okay, let's fill in the parentheses. Half 14 is 7. 7 squared is 49. But remember, if it's in the parentheses, it's a trick. It looks like you added 49, but you didn't. We really added negative 1 times 49, which is negative 49. So since I added negative 49 to the left to keep it balanced, I need to add 49 to the right. So when I write it in vertex form, I have y equals. Now this time I can write negative 1, or I can just write the negative. If the negative makes you feel uncomfortable, put the 1, but it's not necessary. Factor what's in the parentheses, and I get x plus 7 squared. Add the two numbers at the end, and it gets negative 6. It's y equals a negative. That tells us it's going to open down. And the vertex, this is controlling the x, so that's our negative 7. And that's the y at the end, so that's negative 6. Okay, let's do one more together, and then you can try the last two on your own if you want. So on this one, again, it doesn't start with a positive 1. So I've got to factor out that negative. So I'm going to take out the negative. You can write negative 1, but that changes the sign. So now I have positive y squared, negative 12y plus blank minus 40 plus blank. When I fill in the blank, half of 12 is 6. 6 squared is 36. But remember, it's a trick. I didn't add 36. I added negative 1 times 36, which is negative 36. So the opposite of that is positive 36. So when I write my equation, almost did it a third time, I get x equals, and then I've got my negative. And remember, you don't have to write the 1, so I'm just going to do the negative, and this factors to, oh gosh, now my pen stopped writing, so I'll just speak it out. This, oh dear. Let's see, comes back. Okay, this factors to y minus 6 squared, and then over here I get negative 4. Because it's x equals a negative, it's opening to the left. And this over here in my parentheses, I got the y minus 6. That controls my y. So my equation, or so my vertex, I got the negative 4 here. So it'd be negative 4 and then positive 6. Okay, if you pause the video, well, you can't see the answers. OneNote's locked, but that should give you a good start on what you need to do to complete the square on the parabola.